I don't have the slightest clue as to where these people come from.
So yeah, look, if that means that I need to wear tinfoil on my head and that I'm not a rational thinker and that I'm a crackpot or whatever, then it is what it is.
Really.
Peace. Love and logic to all of you.
Of course, when he's wearing his not wearing his tinfoil hat, let's see what he has to say.
Hey there, my fellow human beings. Just wanted to talk about uh, depression, apathy, existential crises.
Existential crisis. What are you reading? Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. I've never heard of that. Someone inform me. I've never heard of a existential crisis. Seriously, are we just making stuff up now, or does that occur when you wear your tinfoil hat?
Basically, I am someone, if you've ever watched my videos or spoken to me online, I'm someone who speaks out against things that I think are inherently wrong in the world. Things such as religion, capitalism, rampant nationalism, where people have all this national pride and think that their nation is better than any other nation, their people better than any other people. And then, obviously, within those national structures, there are other religions and other ideologies that make certain groups within those nations feel that they're better than other groups. I'm a humanist, and it breaks my heart, quite frankly, that we live in a world that 20,000 people starve to death in every day. It breaks my heart to know that there are people who just don't have any basic rights, who, if they decide, for instance, to leave their religion, they'll be stoned to death or things like that. The fact that, some LGBTI kids feel that they're driven to suicide because their parents don't accept their sexuality based on religious principles or what have you. It definitely is a world that if you care too much, it will break your heart and it will destroy you. This is something that I have been railing against for a very long time, the basic apathy of our species. But I've come to realize in fighting against it that there's only so much an individual can do when no other individual wants to do anything.
Look at tinfoil hat, man. We haven't been a capitalist society in probably over 100 years since the inception of the Federal Reserve, because the big banks at the top created a cartel. The commodity they have cornered the market on is currency. So no, this is not capitalism. This has been capitalism for 102 years, or 102 years in January. Anyways, so I don't think anybody in the modern world today has ever lived under capitalism, because when you have people with the power to create the very currency that the whole economy runs off of, they'll generally create it in a manner that favors them. They'll 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 tighten the economy or they'll expand the economy at their whim, whatever benefits them. That's not capitalism. Capitalism does its own thing. The free market controls everything, not bankers sitting behind closed doors in rooms. Okay, so right there you're wrong. If you care so much, why do you support Israel? Because one of the biggest crimes the world has ever seen is going on right now in Palestine, in Gaza. It's a war crime. It's a war crime to bomb civilians. It's a war crime to bomb a hospital. It's a war crime to bomb the power plant. It's a war crime. Collective punishment is a war crime. Putting all the Palestinians in Gaza is collective punishment. You're punishing them simply because they're Palestinian, and you're putting them in a great big outdoor concentration camp. But you favor Israel. So, I mean, a war crime is a war crime, and anyone who supports Israel is a war criminal. That would include you. Where's your apathy on the Palestinians?
Ideologies that make them feel ideologies that make them feel they're better than myself
What
and
is
others.
with the crazy eyes?
They outnumber the world is not full of caring individuals. The world is not full of caring individuals who want
crazy
to fix
eyes.
it. It is full of people
Okay.
who
Stop with the crazy eyes. It's starting to freak me out.
the starving people of the world, etc. And she would say, "There, but for the grace of God go I." And this seems to be a very common thread with people, that they find comfort in other people's suffering because, you know, even though we're suffering as well, we're not suffering as much as that group of people. I think that's outrageous. We are all human beings, but basically, we have all these things that separate and divide us, and we don't think about the people who are starving to death, who are dying of thirst, who are drinking muddy water and catching diphtheria and other diseases because that's the only water they can access. We don't spare a thought for the people that, you know, are just suffering all around the world because we have distractions. Our electronic devices keep us occupied when...
Using, and I told you about the crazy eyes, okay? Don't be putting people down for using electronics when you're using them yourself. You're not in some cave with a fire talking to people, you know, in an auditorium.
Making us feel a little bit like... Making us feel a little bit like we just, you know, the whole place is out of control and maybe we should do something to fix it. We just go to YouTube, like I'm doing right now, or we go to Facebook or Google Plus or whatever, and we look at everyone else's happy lives because that's all they post up. I mean, I'm an honest person and I've posted up all the shit I've been going through, and I get a lot of backlash for that because people don't like honesty. They don't want to know that other people are doing it just as hard. They don't want someone trying to comfort the people who are hurting. What they want is just to see that everyone else has a happy life, and then they try to emulate that, and then they get depressed and suicidal because their life's nowhere near as good as other people's lives.
Okay, maybe that's how you feel. Certainly isn't how I feel.
And it destroys people. And it destroys people who do care. I, like a number of other people, I have gone to my general practitioner just very recently. I've told him all about how I'm feeling about the world, how the general apathy towards suffering just hurts me, makes me cry. That's not very manly, I know. But I weep for these things. And he did what any good doctor would do. He put me on antidepressants.
Those things are no good for you. You need to get off them. Period. End of statement. Wean yourself off them immediately.